sending them to a prophetic office course that is going to teach them their mandate. I mean, this guy just needs to learn how to, use the gifts of the Spirit and the right time to prophesy at church at this point, right? So who's your audience? Knowing your audience already is going to help you with the rest of the steps when I go to, what kind of courses you should be putting out. So quickly jot down very quickly some characteristics of the prophetic people that are within your sphere of influence. If you are starting a school online, let me ask you this. What are the kind of questions or what kind of ministry do you always end up doing for the prophets that come to you? Do you end up interpreting their dreams? Do you lean more towards counseling and inner healing? Perhaps you're helping them navigate the prophetic in the marketplace. I've got one of my apprentices, he teaches the marketplace prophets, where God is raising them up in business specifically, and he has focused his entire ministry just towards the marketplace. That's fantastic. Guys, we need so many different schools that can reach all of the prophetic and help them find their place. You see, prophets can seem rowdy and a bit rebellious at times, but let me tell you something else about them. They really desire a place to belong. There is an inert attraction in us, prophetic people, that are attracted to our place in the body of Christ. We're attracted to the family. We're attracted to a sense of feeling solidified and stable. I know that you don't believe me. There's some pastors out there right now that don't wait. A stable prophet? Listen, when a prophet finds their place, they're not only stable, they're the pillar. They're the one that'll stick through with you, come thick or thin, no matter how many times you mess up, no matter how many times you change direction. When a prophet finds a place to belong and is secure in that place, they are the most loyal and honorable of the fivefold. They will stick close to you, like Jonathan stuck to David. That's what you're going to find when you provide a place for a prophet to belong. And immediately, boom, this is one thing that is going to diversify a prophetic school from a Bible school with a really good curriculum, is prophets need a place to belong. You've got to know what the needs of your people are. Listen, regardless of the kind of school you're starting here, you have to actually look at the people that want to come to your school. Stop, and I say this in nearly all of my teachings. Hi, Michelle. She would have heard me say this like, I don't know how many times. It's not about what you have to offer. It's about what the people need, okay? So you might have some fantastic revelation from the word on the prophetic. But if you don't gear that revelation for the people that are drawing from you, then they're not going to be able to take what it is that you're giving them, right? So it's not even just good enough to say, I've got fantastic revelation. You've got to ask yourself, what are the people like that follow me? Write down 5 characteristics right now. What are 5 characteristics of the people that are within your sphere, in your circle, that are following you at the moment? That's number 1. Do you know your audience? Do you know your audience? Is everything still okay, guys? Yes. We good. All right. I don't know how many of you do any of these sessions, but when your tech team starts scurrying around the room and looking for, plug points and switching switches, I start to panic. I'm like, are we good? Am I good? I'm trying to be anointed. While you're scurrying and whispering to each other behind the camera. Am I the only one? Maybe it's just me. Maybe some other leaders out there know my pain. Working with media team, right? So number 1, know your audience, you guys. Know your audience. You could look at my curriculum and say, oh my goodness, that is a fantastic curriculum. And it could be totally useless for your group. Because you don't know who they are, right? You don't know what they particularly need. And so that's where at the end of the session, I'm going to have some Q&A and we can talk a little bit about your particular sphere of influence, all right, guys? So that I can help you assess all of that. For those of you who are watching online, if you need help, you better just click on that little old link and get your little self in that room. Because if you're not in the room, I'm going to be cutting off after point 2, and then you're not getting the rest of this message. But if you sign up, even if you're watching the replay, if you sign up, you'll still get the full recording, okay? Number 2, decide now, before you even set up your curriculum. Listen, this comes from years of experience. You want to do this for yourself. How long is it going to take? Thing. So let me allow myself to just help you to a shortcut. So we just started, like, we just kept teaching and kept teaching and kept teaching until we were done. And then when that happened, I went back and realized, no, we didn't teach it properly enough. We probably need to start again. You see, I kind of felt my way there and kind of was just figuring it out as I go. I don't recommend it. I don't, because I didn't never know when I was going to get there. Those first students, you know, God is so good. Somehow along the way, we still managed to minister to some of God's people, but I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know how I was going to get there. God said, go, I went. I guess we're a bit like Abraham. We just plowed our way, but it caused a lot of confusion. Some people fell off the bus on the way. And so if you'd like to keep people in your school, don't just give them a great promise of when you're starting and how you're starting. You really need to give them a clear expectation of how long it is and how long they can expect to work on your courses. Now, remember in the first one I said, let's look at some points on your audience. I want you to look at those points now. When you look at the duration, how much do you think those people can take? Think about it. I mean, if we're looking at someone that really just needs some information on the gifts of the Spirit, I'm not feeling a 2-year curriculum. You know what I'm saying? And let me say this as well. Let me say this as well. If you are a pastor of a church or you have a ministry that has been primarily word-based, you've just started with a bit of a flow of the Spirit, okay? People have just started to, prophesy a little bit here. Now's not a time to start a prophetic school. They're not ready. You want to start a school on the gifts of the Spirit, okay? Think about it. You can't teach people how to function in prophetic office and build with an apostle when they're in a local church with the pastor and they don't even know how to prophesy. All right? However, on the other hand, child of God, if you've been teaching, this is a personal hobby horse. This is a personal rant. If you've been teaching on the gifts of the Spirit for 5 years in a row, it is time. It is time, man of God. It is time, woman of God. Let us go higher. They're done. They're done. They don't want to hear anymore. They don't. They don't want to hear about the fruits of the Spirit one more time. They don't want to hear on the gifts of the Spirit for the 10th time. Write a book. Sign up for my Launch You program. Give them the book and let's start a prophetic school. Okay? They're ready. They're so primed and ready. Okay? But there's this little, switch you got to take. You got to go from the milk to the meat, right? You got to go from just teaching them the gifts, teaching them the fruit of the Spirit, teaching them the basics of the just flowing, to actually going through the character shaping and the change that they need. So again, determine if you've got a bunch of people that are just being born again or just got Spirit filled, they're excited about, they're not ready for prophetic office training. Can I please get an amen? If they got Spirit filled yesterday, they are not ready for prophetic office training. All right? But on the other hand, if they've been flowing in the gifts, you're in service where the Spirit of God is always moving, you're seeing deliverance, you're seeing God move. If you don't have a prophetic school already, you're late. Okay? So determine where you're at. Look, I'm an overachiever. I'm like, everybody should just go to prophetic office, right? I'm like, let's just start them with the fire hose. but I've learned it's not always the best place to start. So let us all reach those that God has given us to reach. So when you realize, okay, this is where the maturity is at, then you can set the duration. Is your course or your school gonna be a month long? Are you just having a little group study? You know, you're gonna have a little booklet, a little book, introduce them, maybe signs of the prophetic calling or something, just to see. Maybe you're gonna throw out a preliminary course, you know, for everybody to see who the prophets are. That's great. If you've never done anything prophetic in your church before, I highly recommend you start with something like 8 ways to hear the voice of God, or, you know, let's talk, you know, let's see who's even prophetic in this room, and then perhaps taking them a little deeper from there, right? But if you're a mature church that's gone a long way, then we're looking at something where you want to set up quarterly or even a yearly program. My curriculum was 2 years long, and guess what, you guys? It wasn't enough. We now give that school, Free Prophetic School, that's the Free Prophetic School, it's a 2-year curriculum, and now my son and daughter, Deborah and Michael Felthazen of the Next Gen Prophets Tribe, now they're actually starting on top of that curriculum. So for all of those that went through that curriculum, they now take them to office. They now take them leadership, deal with their prophetic type, deal with their mandates, help them work with an apostle. Now, I'm not going to teach someone in a local church how to work with an apostle, and they don't even know how to prophesy under the covering of a pastor. So please do. Step number 1. Know your audience, know where you're at. Okay, guys? If you've been asked to just lead a prophetic intercession group within your local church, you're not leading people to prophetic office in a 2-year curriculum, okay? Let's bring that down. We're just going to start on, you know, some basics of prayer, intercession. We're going to start them there and build them up accordingly. So is it going to be a month long? Is it going to be a quarter long? Is it a yearly program? Because if you find that you have accumulated, for those of you who are more apostolic, I don't doubt that you have accumulated a very long list of content over the years. If you're apostolic, I promise you, you have got so much content that you're kind of feeling a bit like, what do I do with all of it? Like, you want to give it all to them, but you know that you can't give it all to them at the same time. What we did, and I recommend, is you set it into modules. So you can have a year 1 and you can have a year 2, or you can have a quarter 1, a quarter 2, and a quarter 3. It's entirely up to you. It depends. Like I said, we can have some back and forth in a bit, and I can answer some of your questions on that. But when you know your audience, you know how deep you need to go, and you know how long. The next one, we're going to have a look at our curriculum. And this is where I'm going to give you a couple of ideas. And I also want to challenge you a little bit on what we should be teaching the prophets. I was speaking with actually one of the attendees here, and I don't hold it against her anymore, but she said this to me. She said, well, when she first started in the prophetic, she was going to join our school. This is while we still had it as an official curriculum, right? And she said, but she decided not to. You know who you are. She went with a friend instead to another church, because her friend was going. But I'm going to come on and speak a bit more about community engagement that you need as well. And she said, but now the problem was with the school that she ended up going to, she said it was a bunch of spreadsheets. She just learned a bunch of stuff on the prophetic, you know, on how to flow in the gifts, you know, just basic stuff like that. And at the end of it, she didn't know if she was a prophet or not. She didn't know, was that it? Am I there? Where am I? What's my mandate? Am I a prophet? Aren't I a prophet? Am I even in office now? But I did the spreadsheet and I got a certificate, so I guess that means I must be a prophet. No, it does not. It does not. Okay. You know, there's a lot of pastors out there who have a degree and have never had a church. So they can't preach, they can't teach, they're not even born again. Right? Don't laugh at it. Am I the only one that's met such pastors? Right? They got the degree in theology, but they're not even saved, right? So they don't even, is that a real pastor? Would you call that a real pastor? They got the certificate, right? The proof's in the pudding, baby. If you're not there saving lives, if you're not there nurturing and growing, if you don't have sheep, then you can't call yourself a shepherd. Okay? All right. So here's a couple of worksheets, don't make the prophet. Goodness gracious me. Well, I finished the book and I got the certificate. Yeah, that is not what it takes to make a profit. And I'm going to go a little bit into curriculum in a little bit now. Okay, for those of you online, I'm going to cut off the live stream. If you want to get in the room, I highly recommend it. We will give you the full recording of this afterwards. For those of you that sign up, get in there. Everything supports the free prophetic school. Allow us to put up the next set of courses to make it absolutely free. And by the way, for those of you who are watching, who are online, please do feel free to go and copy as much of it as you want. Oh my goodness, yes. Why? Because we need to raise up the prophets in this dispensation. We need to raise them up. Go learn, go study, go see how we do it. Go see what we teach and reteach it. Go and raise up the prophets, please. Absolutely. We've got a lot of work to do in the body of Christ. We need character shaping. We need balance. We need some good solid doctrine. Please. We've seen such a mess in the last 2 years in the prophetic move that has shaken the church. Let's bring about some change with some really good word-based teaching, okay? So with that being said, goodbye to all my live streamers. I love you. Collect the link, get in the room, and I'm going to carry on now with those who were so kind to register officially.